You guys, someone asked for some bowl thoughts the other day. I would like to talk a little bit about the Big 12 bowl season here. Okay. I think now I was reading a list the other day from our friends at Heartland College Sports that I thought was pretty well done, ranking the Big 12 bowls in order from like most interesting to least. And obviously, you start with Arizona State against whoever they're going to play, Clemson or Texas. But I got to say, they had BYU-Colorado a little bit too low for me in the Alamo Bowl. I think that is a huge, huge part of this. I love that. To me, it's number one in terms of outside of college football playoff, Big 12 bowl games that we're going to get to see, because I know that, one, this is a game that we very easily could have seen as a Big 12 championship game. So we get like a redo of that. Two, I know both teams are going to take this pretty seriously. Like Coach Prime has already said, hey, like our guys are going to play. Like it sounds like you're going to get Shedeur, Travis Hunter. Like Colorado seems to be taking this seriously. Prime, I think this is one of those things that goes underreported about him and people should respect more about him. But he was like, look, we made a commitment, dude. Like we made a commitment. So we're going to finish this off and we're going to play it. That's pretty rare these days. Bowl games, very rare to find that. And BYU, I just imagine, my assumption is BYU will take it very seriously and you won't have a ton of opt-outs or whatever, because that seems like the type of program that BYU has, right? And it's been a special season for the Cougars, a very special season. They're going to want to go out the right way. And they're definitely going to want to finish it off in a game where they get to play one of the big brands, right? Yes, it's in their conference, but Colorado, big brand, a lot of people watching, a lot of attention. You're going to play the Heisman Trophy winner. So that's a lot there. Like, how often do you get that in a bowl where you feel like both sides are going to take the game pretty damn seriously? I'm here for that. And I'm also here for what would have happened if that was our Big 12 championship game. What would that have actually looked like? People were so onto the Colorado college football playoff storyline. Would they have actually made the college football playoff had they not slipped up against Kansas? Well, we can find out. If it would have been a BYU Big 12 championship game, you get that. I understand, the point that was being made, and there is definitely something to this. Like, hey, the whole deal, bowl games, you want to get outside and play somebody from outside your conference, to the point of, like earlier, what we were talking about in the chat with Eddie, more opportunities, more bites at the apple against the SEC and Big Ten, obviously never hurts. So I can get behind all that. I can definitely get behind all that. But this is an exception to me. This is a cool one. It's a good one. I'm glad that it worked out that way. I think that will be an awesome showcase for the conference to be able to display the Heisman Trophy winner against a team that had an incredible season and two teams that are going to be actually taking bowl season seriously. So I think that's a great one for Big 12 fans. A great one. That is where I'm at on that. I think that is number one for the Big 12. Number two, I do agree with them that I think next you're going in the pecking order, Baylor against LSU. And I know we had an SEC fan earlier assuring me LSU doesn't care about this bowl game. Listen, I know that LSU does not care about a Texas Bowl. I am a K-State fan. I once watched LSU 3 years ago trot out literally like 39 scholarship players for the Texas Bowl, where they're starting. Was it like a receiver at quarterback? I think it was a receiver at quarterback. I've seen LSU no-show a Texas Bowl. Now, that was also an LSU team going through a coaching change, and like Brian Kelly was coming in, an interim coach and all that. I know they don't give two rips about this Texas Bowl. Baylor probably does, right? Baylor, speaking of teams that had great seasons, finished hot, that's Baylor. They get a chance to play a big-name brand in LSU. They will probably be very fired up for this and go out and play well. I would expect Sawyer Robertson. This could be a great game as a springboard to next year to showcase him to a more national audience, more people to see what he can do. When Baylor flew, unless you were a Big 12 fan, you probably weren't watching much Baylor this year because they fell off the radar very early in the season. And nobody's paying attention to them until at the end you look up like, what? They're 8-4. How did that happen? Last anybody saw of them was the Hail Mary in Boulder. Now they get a chance to show that off against LSU, and it's a chance to pick up a cheap win over the SEC if you're the Big 12. So I think that's a very good one. I do like Iowa State, Miami next. Pop-Tarts Bowl generally seems to be a pretty good matchup. Pop-Tarts Bowl, really, really fun game for the Big 12 here. By the way, did see they have an actual toaster trophy this year that came out literally hot off the presses right before I hit go live tonight. So for anybody who was unaware, that is going to happen. Typically, you get a good game. 3 of the last 4 games decided by 1 score or less. I guess a lot of this is going to be does Cam? I'm reading this preview blurb. It sounds like Cam Ward would play then. If Cam Ward is actually going to play, then yeah, that does turn into an intriguing matchup. And this is kind of one of those. I know bowl game. It's unfair to totally do this, but it's kind of one of those. We were arguing about BYU or maybe Iowa State, but particularly BYU's resume holding it up against Miami's and saying BYU should be getting just as much consideration here. Well, this will give us a little bit of a head-to-head comp. Iowa State, who was ahead of BYU, they'll get a chance to go at Miami. Was Miami actually a team that was very much comparable to these Big 12 teams there? That can tell us a little something. Texas Tech, Arkansas, Liberty Bowl, Big 12 SEC. There's that. My apologies to everybody that has to go to that game. I know I feel bad. Liberty Bowl has nice people. I don't enjoy like crapping on the game, but I probably go to that a little bit too much. It's just not the greatest stadium. Memphis is always really cold. It's not a tropical environment. Anyway, Texas Tech should blast Arkansas. They lost to Oklahoma State earlier this year. That's not a game people will be fired up about, I wouldn't think, for Arkansas. Also, I feel like Arkansas is in the Liberty Bowl quite frequently. I wouldn't imagine that they'll be too fired up about that game. But they can bring a lot of fans. I do remember that from 2015 when they played K-State in the Liberty Bowl. They brought a bunch of fans. Old Southwest Conference matchup, for the old heads out there. There is that. I'm sure some will respect that aspect of it. Then we're down to, the rest of them. Man, I don't know. I mean, even as a K-State guy, like K-State Rutgers, I'm like, okay. K-State Rutgers. We've got revenge on K-State's mind from the 2006 Texas Bowl. That's about the best I can give you. Yeah, I don't know. This is where, back to the conversation earlier, like I'm much more concerned with what's going on in the transfer portal for K-State. Are they going to land this receiver that they're bringing in next week? West Virginia, Memphis. Okay. Yeah. But West Virginia is like program in transition, weird spot there. If this were a game in the regular season between West Virginia and Memphis, I think that could have been a really entertaining game. Thank you to Memphis for what they did with Tulane to knock them off course this year. Appreciate them for that. And TCU, Louisiana. I mean, yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. TCU kind of gets shafted with the New Mexico Bowl. I mean, they definitely can lose that game. I'm sure Louisiana will enjoy getting a chance to have a rip at a Power 4 team there. But there's some thoughts on Big 12 bowls for the first time. We'll obviously talk about them more as they get closer there.